Occam's razor. What is it? Why would you want to use it? And how can you use it as an aspiring high-performance CEO? G'day. Are you seeking to be a high-performance CEO or develop personal leadership and be a CEO in your own life? Then you've come to the right place, because we discuss real experiences from CEOs for you to learn from. And so you don't miss out, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications. Let's get into it. Occam's razor is a problem-solving principle that suggests that the simplest solution is the best one. Let's say, for example, you are in London inside and you hear hooves on the street. One solution could be that it was a zebra that ran by. Another would be it was a horse. Now, which is the simplest solution is that it's a horse. The zebra solution requires a whole series of complex assumptions before that solution could be valid. Or consider that it's been a windy night and there's trees that have fallen down in the local forest. Well, was it meteorites that came and knocked the trees down, or was it the high winds? The simplest solution seems to be the best. Now, the principle is named after William of Occam, a theologian and Franciscan friar, lived in England around the 14th century. The term razor applies to the shaving away of unnecessary assumptions. It's not a law, it's more of a principle, a problem-solving principle. And it doesn't say that complex solutions aren't valid, but it does say that the simplest approach is the easiest one to work with, it's the easiest to communicate, and the easiest to actually act on. Now, in business, how can we apply this? Well, recently I had to let a marketing person go because after many weeks we hadn't really achieved the success that we were hoping for. Now, when I asked for a new strategy and a new way forward, I wasn't getting any replies, any answers, and a week went by and I re-asked again and again, and now I started to diagnose why this was the case. Now, there could have been some interpersonal dynamics, maybe there was holidays, maybe there were other priorities, but it occurred to me that the simplest solution to this problem was that the person really didn't know how to solve this problem. The important part of that assumption is that it's quite testable. I can simply ask the person, do they know how to solve the problem? And then wait for the explanation. A very simple assumption can be very easily tested. And this is the power of Occam's razor, because it starts to eliminate the simple list of assumptions so that you can actually come to a solution. In this case, that person didn't really know how to solve the problem. I started my career as an electronics engineer, and diagnosing, understanding the faults in an electronic board is complex. But one thing I learnt back then is to apply Occam's razor. I didn't know what it was called back then, but it was really just a case of applying the simplest solutions to get the board to work. And you might say, well, turning the power on would be a good place to start, but it's surprising how many times that's forgotten. Making sure it's fully connected, it's actually powered up, it's actually running, it's turned on, and then making sure the devices that you're testing actually have power applied to them. So a series of quite simple assumptions have just been eliminated. Then you can get to maybe more complex and difficult things to solve. Quite often, it's the fact that you didn't power up the board, or you didn't plug it in, or you haven't got power to that particular part. Very easy to check. And I think that's the power of the Occam's razor, is to do the simple things first, because they're often the easiest to act on and eliminate. There's 3 basic steps to applying Occam's razor. Let's consider the case where you have a product on the market and perhaps it's not selling very well. And we can use the Occam's razor to list our bunch of assumptions. So if we were to use the 4 P's of marketing, our product, price, promotions and place, which one of those is the easiest for us to apply? So as a list of assumptions, we could say, well, is the price too high? Is the product actually meeting the customer's needs? Is the promotions right? Are we going to the correct channels? We're going through correct social media, and then are we placing it in the right country? Now you can see there's quite a lot of assumptions that we've listed out, and this helps to clarify, just really what's going on. There may be many assumptions. Then we need to apply the next test. The next step is to apply the explanation complexity test. In this example, it's quite easy to see that the price could be too high or too low. We all go shopping and decide to choose something which is cheaper or more expensive based on our budget or other factors. So price is quite easy to assess versus product, which might have many multiple interacting components that need to be unraveled. So in this case, it's quite clear that pricing is emerging as the Occam's razor solution. The third step is to apply the sufficient cause principle. So in this case, is pricing enough to account for the low sales? And in this case, if it is, then it's fairly easy to test. Now what's great about this is that we can actually go and test it. We could go and do surveys, we could ask people, we could look at behaviours, we could look at competition products. There's a lot of things we could do here to either prove or disprove that assumption. And this is the thing that I like about Occam's razor. It's not a solution, it's not pointing you to a particular solution, but it gives you the next step to take. It gives you an opportunity to work on something which is easy to start with, to be provable, and to prove or disprove that assumption. If we, for example, find that pricing is the issue, we can lower the pricing, or we can try to lower the pricing and still keep our margins. If we find that pricing isn't the factor, then we can move on to the next simplest solution. And that way we can unravel this problem of the low sales. There are some of the pitfalls of Occam's razor. Again, it's not a law, it's a principle, it's a logical thought process. Two main pitfalls come to mind. One is jumping to assumptions. Very quickly assuming that the first idea that comes to mind is necessarily the solution. If you went to the doctor and he just looked at you with a sniffly nose and said you've got the flu, go home, you might find that you've got something far more serious. So you want to actually make sure that you've checked all possibilities and then selected the first and simplest and easiest one to try. The second thing is confirmation bias. It's very easy, especially in this digital world with access to the internet, to have what we believe to be the case constantly confirmed to us. I think one of the clearest examples that I've witnessed is the interest in conspiracy theories. If we're seeing drones over New Jersey, is it aliens coming to visit? Well, no, the simplest solution is that there's probably some people who are flying drones around, or it's an aircraft, and that's turned out to be largely the case. We're very subjective to confirmation bias, and with the access to the internet and the tools and the way social media works, it reinforces that confirmation bias. So it's something that's getting worse, I believe, because of the digital realm, and it's something we need to be constantly aware of. So Occam's razor is a tool. It's a problem-solving tool. It helps you move forward in steps, logical and simple steps that help you unravel what could potentially be a complex problem. It gives you something to act on and to test. Now, if you're aspiring to be a high-performance CEO, or you're looking for personal leadership in your own life, want to be a CEO of your own life, then I think Occam's razor is a tool that you could embrace and use. I hope that helps, and thanks for watching.